So one of our guys, Marcus, he participates in this group. It's called Ride for Black Lives. Pretty cool group. Basically, they just started. We'll talk about it. A couple months ago, after all the things that were going on, and yeah, I just thought it was really cool what they're doing and everything. I was always following them on Instagram, and yeah, definitely wanted to spread the word about this group. They are in LA, so for you LA people, definitely check them out. And I believe they might be spreading to other parts of the state or the country. So definitely look for your local one. So, anyways, we'll talk about it when he comes on. So, without further ado, let's introduce Ron Holden. Hey, hey, hey! There you go. Let's. You're muted. Unmute yourself real quick. There you go.
Amateur hour, my bad.
It's all good, man. Yeah, man. And Ron, thanks for you know coming out and having a little chat with us.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
So let's start with your story. Let's start. Where were you born, and where where you came from and stuff.
All right, well, I was born here in LA, born and raised. I moved around LA a lot, like literally all over. I mean, I went to kindergarten in Carson. I went to elementary school in like mid city, kind of like Carthay Circle area, actually.
Hmm.
Went to a couple middle schools of John Burroughs and Emerson. I ended up going to high school in Palmdale. My mom wanted me to be out there. I went to Highland High School. Shout out to Palmdale. It's not a cool city. Um, it's super hot during the summers. It gets cold during the winters, and it's just a desert in the middle of nowhere. Actually, that's crazy. These photos right here is my mom, my dad, and my grandfather. Um, and It's crazy. My grandfather's actual name is Roland Holden, but he was a singer back in the 60s. And for those who know me, that's where Love You So comes from, because he had an album called Love You So, 1960.
It's so crazy. You
And
didn't even bring that up during our chat.
yeah,
And
nah,
I
I
saw
mean,
this
it's
picture. I
so
was like,
much.
holy shit.
Yeah, it's so much, man. It's crazy. But that's where like I do something else called Love You So, where I just express creatively. And that's where that comes from. His name was Roland, but for his stage name, they had to change his name to Ron, which seemed, I guess, for whatever reason, it was easier for them. And that's how I got my name, because my father was named Ron. I'm Ron Jr. now. Yeah, man. So I grew up all over the city. I went to junior college at Valley College, played a little basketball there. Um, Yeah, man. I mean, my childhood was full of sports. My family was that's my mom. Like, my parents split up when I was like three or four. So like going back and forth to different homes, hanging out with my mom at her house, my dad at his house, and I spent a lot of time with my grandparents. Super close with my grandparents, and that's kind of how I grew up. Where it was just one big happy family, um, regardless of what was going on.
Mhm.
Everyone was looking out for each other and doing their thing. So it was tight. It was tight to grow up in a situation like that. I mean, obviously, as a kid, you kind of, most kids want to be. You grow up and the fairy tale picture is that like everyone, is a happy home um, and you're there with your mom and your dad. And unfortunately, for a lot of people, like you don't grow up like that, right? So like my dad remarried when I was 5, my stepmom. Um,
Mhm.
and then my mom remarried when I was in like middle school or something. Um, and It's crazy because like I'm sure a lot of people watch that show, This Is Us, but like literally that's kind of how our family was. Like my mom, my dad, my stepmom, all super cool. Hang out together. We go dinner, go lunch, spend the holidays together. So it was odd, but it was super impactful for how I grew up and the person I am now. So I think it's kind of cool to see that now at 32 years old, to look back at how that family dynamic was created. I think it's helped me learn how to, you know, push through and deal with some situations that you may run into now as an adult, you know, dealing with life, because life isn't perfect. But
Yep.
that's kind of me, man. After high school, I kind of like wanted to be a firefighter, so I was doing all that. I was an EMT for a little while, like running in the ambulance, 911 and all that. That was a crazy point in my life as well. At the same point in my life, I I ran into, or I was introduced to this company called Optimist, um, through a friend that was working at Nike back in that time. And to be honest, like that moment, that fork in the road, like put me into the trajectory of where my life is now. And without that, like I'm not sure where I would have been doing. It's crazy because Optimist was like this, it was just something super new to me. Like I'd never really tapped into like my creativity. Um, Again, like I said, I was playing sports and like going towards being a firefighter, and um, and they kind of like brought me in open arms. Like I have some of my best friends I met there in 2010 who are still some of my closest friends, like as close as family as you can get. And there's a lot of them, and we roll deep. And like I haven't, we don't see, obviously COVID makes things weird, but like it created some bonds that, you know, those bonds where like even if I don't talk to you for 6 months, you know, like if you were to call me, I got your back, and I'm always wishing best for you. So like Optimist was kind of like this launching ground for like myself and all of us there. If you look at everyone who I met and anyone that knows me from back then, like it kind of put us all into the trajectory of where we are now. And that trajectory turned out to be super beneficial for every single person in that situation. So shout out to Optimus, Rose, Jurgen, Niels. Those are the individuals who founded that company. It's a marketing agency, experiential agency. I learned so much there. It's crazy. It's actually crazy. And it's really crazy too, because like this year,
Is that?
um,
That's,
like that's Optimist. Yeah, that's their
yeah.
website. It's crazy too, because like was the loss of Kobe was huge for a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
But and like obviously everyone has their own story, but for like myself and like my people at Optimist and specifically at the Nike Vault, it was like super impactful. And because like it's crazy because like again that turning point was mostly because of Kobe. Because like at the agency we ran a energy space called the Nike Vault, right?
Right.
um, and the Nike Vault was a store at the Staples Center, um, and we were open during Laker home games. So it was like the home of Nike basketball and Kobe Bryant. So like we did like all the tight Kobe releases, all the special 1 of 24 packs. Um, like that's when like kind of like social media marketing kind of started a little bit. We were doing like we had a Facebook page and we were like dabbling in the idea of like how do we create, you know, energy and make product cool here in person, but also in the digital space. So like it's crazy that in it that news of Kobe's loss was like super crazy for us because like I mean this
Yeah.
picture you have right here, like this is I think this is the Kobe release of that shoe, and we closed down the Venice basketball courts, and we did this like little drill situation, and it's weird too because again this goes back to Optimus like pushing us into the trajectory that we didn't even know we could do. Where like they're like, yo, like you're gonna go onto the court here, and Kobe's gonna come out, and you're gonna show him how to do these basketball drills. And I was like, how am I going to show Kobe how to do basketball drills? I think we're doing this the wrong way. It should probably be the other way around, right? And they're like, no, it's all good. Don't worry. And I'm like, Like, you mean before the event starts? Hey, no, like during the event, when everyone's there, you're gonna walk Kobe through the basketball drills. I was like, that's crazy. But again, like when you look back, like it's crazy. Optimus, Optimus was this amazing turning point where like they believed in us and they kind of like gave you the confidence to say like, yo, like it's all right, you can do whatever. If anything in front of you, you can do it. So like just get this shit done. Let's go. And that was like pretty crazy. I mean, I was never like a big like public speaker or like, you know, I don't talk a lot to people usually. I don't want to get up in front of a big crowd usually. And like that was like super nerve wracking, which is crazy. The only thing that could help me calm down is that I knew how to play basketball. So I could just focus on what I was doing and get through it. So it's tight. That's a crazy. It's super emotional for us. All my people at the vault when we heard about this loss of Kobe, and it's crazy, but he impacted a lot of people's lives, and he don't even know, he doesn't know 95% of their names. But him and his greatness created so many opportunities, lanes, and paths for success for a lot of people, and it's amazing the impact that he had. Hopefully, you know, like that's kind of like when I think about Ride for Black Lives. Like, hopefully, one day we can impact just as many people as he did, because it lasts for a long time and it can change a lot just by you and you not even knowing it sometimes. Like sometimes you and your presence and your energy and your effort and what you do impacts people more than they could even communicate to you. And that's what's most important now, especially nowadays. Like impact, and what you leave behind in your legacy is like so important, and it can do a lot moving forward. So that was a crazy time in my life. That was super tight. um who's back in there? There's Nate back there. There's Teresa back there. And there is this. I don't have my glasses on, so I
No
can't see
worries.
anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, man,
So
that's a crazy time.
yeah. So yeah. Also at that time at Optimus, I believe yeah you definitely got thrown into a lot of things. You said you learned photography,
Yeah,
marketing, productivity, right?
yeah, actually, that's crazy too, because they were the first ones to hire me on a real shoot. Like my first real paid shoot was for Nike Running, um, and it was tight because again, like I didn't own a camera until like 2010 or 11, um, and like it took me a year to figure out how to use it too. And I didn't even think about owning a camera or being a photographer or taking photos back in high school or college. Like it was not on my mind at all. And I picked up a camera one day while I was like during the time in my early couple years working there, and I was just doing my own thing. And they, paid attention to us closely because we were such a small, tight knit group. And again, Optimus again saying like, hey, like we trust you, like you actually are pretty good at this. How about you try this? And boom, there it goes. Like that turned me into like working at the agency to like being able to work for myself and like create um, a life and somewhat of a lane and a career for myself by them just being able to put me in the opportunity, right, and trust me, and like help me grow. I've learned so much from Nike and from Optimus. Just being on the behind the scenes of seeing so many things get done, it was like way more impactful than going to school or paying for an internship or anything like that. Like you learned exactly what you needed to get done and how you needed to do it when you were dealing with Optimus and when you're dealing with a brand like Nike. Like obviously Nike is the number one known brand in the world, and you don't get that way by luck. Like it's orchestrated, it's precise, and those times and those lessons taught me a lot. So it's crazy, man, to think how like back, that's only 10 years ago too. 2010, I think my first day actually working with them was Christmas Day 2010 at the Nike Vault, and it was the release of the Grinch 6s, which are about to come back out,
Yeah. Yeah.
which they're calling the Green Apples, because and the reason why they were called the Grinch is because the vault. We called them the Grinch, and then that
Wow.
took off. They didn't even want it to be called the Grinch.
Yeah.
Um, and
That's
it was
crazy.
kind of like it was a weird situation. My friend Matt brought that up last week too. I was like, wow. And when you think about it, like people know that shoe as the Grinch, and it's because of the vault, and that's how
Yeah.
impactful the vault was. So yeah, it was tight, man. They learned a lot. I learned a lot from them. They're super tight. They've been super supportive still to this day. Every single person at the vault, at Optimus. So shout out to them. Like it's tight. Hopefully I can work with them and the crew more coming
Yeah.
into the new year.
Cool. So from that point, I believe, yeah, you said you ran a sneaker store for a little bit, right? And then,
Yeah, I actually, that's crazy. It's I've done a lot, and
yeah,
a lot of times I like to talk about everybody else except myself.
yeah,
But during, I think, 2013,
mm-hmm.
for a minute, I took a little break from the vault. I moved out to Vegas with my friends to help them run a sneaker store. The sneaker store is called Crossover. It's at the Cosmopolitan Hotel on
Mm-hmm.
the Strip in Las Vegas. It's called Crossover.
Mm-hmm.
Um, some DJ friends, some of you DJ guys, or your audience might know DJ Vice. That's his
Yep.
store.
Oh,
It
okay, okay,
started in
okay.
Santa Barbara.
Yeah.
And I was out there with my buddy Lo and my buddy Nick Sakai and Jet, another guy. He's super tight too. Videographer. He's here. He's back here in LA. But man, Vegas was crazy. Living in Vegas in at 23 years old, 24 years old was wild. And like I said, like Vice is Vice store. So
Yeah.
the store is next door to the entrance of Marquee.
Yeah.
So I lived out there for a year, and literally every night we would just close the store and go into the club. And like, you know, a pair of shoes will get you a long way in life. If you
Yeah.
guys didn't know that, and but also being a good human and actually get you like way further in life. But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that coupled with the the power to be able to help people out when they want something obviously helps. And Vegas is a cool city because it's all about, when you live there, it's all about, connecting and looking out for everyone. It's a very tight knit community out there too. It's smaller, it's super small. Like you think LA is small, Vegas is smaller, right? And but the community looks out for each other. And it was all about a scratch your back, I scratch mine. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it was an amazing time. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about life. I learned a lot about the size of the world, right? When you think about Vegas, like, you know, New York is a melting pot of the world. LA is a melting pot of the world. And Vegas is too. It's just for a different reason, right? So people come there to enjoy themselves to the fullest, is spend money and have a good time and forget about things. And you see a lot out there in Vegas, especially at a young age. So I think it was a great moment in my life to expand how I looked at the world and how the world worked. Because again, growing up in LA is cool, but when you're in the city the only city that you know, you're still in a bubble. So and moving to Vegas was my first time moving out the city, out of home. Obviously, it's not too far, but still, it's a completely different type of city. But shout out to Crossover, that was a good time. They're still alive. Shout out to Jordan, who's still over there, and Vice and that whole crew. I love them. They've looked out for me for a long time, and there's some pretty good memories out there with them.
Yeah.
Good times.
Do you ever make it out there again? You're like, hey, what's
No,
up?
no, 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 no. Like
A year was enough.
a year was enough.
Yeah,
I think,
yeah.
I don't even remember the last time. Maybe it's been like 2-3 years since I've been out in Vegas. I still have some great friends out there. They do some cool things out there. I just haven't, I'm old, man. I can't hang no more.
Yeah. You're not that old, man. But okay, so talking about moving and and going outside your bubble and discovering more parts of what's out there, right?
Mhm.
You actually take a job out in Chicago, right?
Yeah, man. So I took, I started a job in Chicago April 1st, 2019, April Fool's Day, um, which is kind of foreshadowing in a sense, but whatever. It's tight. It was tight. I moved out to Chicago for this job. Um, and it was cool. It's kind of like this time in my life where I was kind of like, all right, figuring out what the next steps might be, maybe looking for some different inspiration or like looking for something to like wake me up and accelerate my progression or an opportunity to learn something new. So um, I ended up taking this job offer out in Chicago with a in the finance industry, and it was and they brought me in to run the social media department. So I was director of social for um, the, the the umbrella company, and there's like four companies within that umbrella, and then there's all these associates that we ran social. So like my team, including myself, a team of six, team of six, including myself, ran social for uh, five corporate handles and like 1,800 associates. Like it was a pretty intense situation. And it was tight though because it was super challenging. I had never been to Chicago in my life before I moved there, and I moved to Chicago sight unseen. Um, and I was like, it's one of those things where I'm sure you guys heard it before, but like when I have an opportunity in front of me and I feel like super scared, that's when I usually say yes to that opportunity, just because I feel like the universe is always trying to tell you something, right? And um, and we as humans nowadays, because everything's so automated for us, we can't really like feel that energy all the time, right? But sometimes it pops up when it comes to like internal fear or excitement or those kind of things. Like those sensations are stronger than what we may think, and like we take them for granted, but they're a way that our body and our mind respond to the universe. So like when I feel fear, um, conjoined with an opportunity that I've never tried, like I usually just jump all the way in because like you never know what's gonna happen, right? So I went there. It was tight. Chicago is fucking cold. Um, the seasons are wild. And like it's definitely not LA, but it's an amazing city. I met some super super amazing people out there. There's some really great people out there. I um I started going to church again a lot out there. Um, um, and and again, like I actually, it's crazy. A couple of my friends from the vault had moved out to Chicago. I knew like
Of
three
course.
people out there. So one of them was a friend from the vault who moved out there and works at a creative agency out there. And another was a chef, Chef Mike. He's a chef at Tao in Chicago. And like luckily I knew a couple people so they kind of showed me around a little bit, and it was an amazing experience. COVID hit, and I was like, yo, well, we're gonna be working from home. I'm just gonna move back home to LA during the meantime because we're dealing with some things at home. You never know what's gonna happen.
Yep.
Things are wild, and I didn't want to be stuck in Chicago. It's too
Yep.
cold to just be in the house. I'd rather at least have some nice weather outside. Um,
You're a
'Cause
true LA boy.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you think about it, dog, like uh, it was still snowing in May
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
So like, nah, I'm good. Yeah, I moved back. COVID was happening. I was working remote. Um, we were like kind of dealing with some family things. My stepmom was going through cancer, battling breast cancer, so I wanted to be home for that too. And to be honest, I'm glad I was home. for that because she passed away July 19th.
Oh man, I'm
And
sorry.
imagine like if I didn't, like I would have never been able to like see her again or talk to her or just be there with the family. Like I said, like she's been my stepmom since I was 5 years old. So like, and we're like all super tight. So that was a tough loss this year for me. And I'm super glad that I made that move back during COVID just so I could spend those last few months with her and the family. So yeah, like I moved back, COVID hit, and then like fuck, like the world just imploded on itself, right? And this George Floyd situation hit, and for me, it was like this. I mean, for everyone, it was this awakening. This year has been an awakening for
Yeah,
everyone, right? But
for sure.
um, that particular incident and me being in my particular position at this company was kind of like a conflict, right? Because we're still talking about like we're still pushing like the idea of like rates are low and da 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 da, and you know take advantage of the market right now. And I'm like, yo, like, so at some point I was like, yo, hey guys, I'm not sure. So I send like a little communications up to my superiors at my company, and I roll up to pretty the like C level. So like everyone is just C level. And at this point I'm like, yo, like what's up, man? Like there's a lot going on out here in the world, and like I don't think it's smart or even humanitarian of us, or like just the right thing for us to do to continue to talk about numbers when like there's other things we should probably address first. So like, and what I did was just like, yo, here's a couple ways we can do it. Like, we can do it and we do it all the way, or I get it. If we don't want to touch it, we don't touch it. I get it, but I can't be the one uh to like hold my tongue on this one, and we
Yeah.
got to make something happen, right? And here's a couple of examples of what other people are doing, and like
Mm-hmm.
all that. And we kind of do something. It's kind of halfway. Like I said, like we either do it or we don't do it, or we don't do it halfway. And we kind of ended up doing something halfway, and it really didn't sit well with me, unfortunately. And it got into like some. What's crazy, I had like some heated conversations with some people at the company about this situation, and again, the company is based in Chicago. It's a Midwest company, and even different regions of America look at these situations differently.
Mm-hmm.
Like some people are just so far removed from what's going on in the world where it doesn't even matter to them, and it doesn't matter to them maybe because they don't care, but it just doesn't matter to them because they just ignorant to the situation, meaning that they've never come across it, right? It's never been on their front door. They've
Mm-hmm.
never seen it. They never heard it in person. And and unfortunately, it kind of like put me in a weird space within the company because like now everyone's looking at me kind of weird because like
Yeah.
there's like this like altercation or whatever, and then I was like, fuck it. Well, then if you guys aren't doing it, then I'm gonna do it. I got to do something now because I was excited at first that my company was prematurely or like early on in the conversation saying like, yeah, let's do something about it. Let's
Yeah.
express what but we didn't do it, and I was like, damn, that's crazy, and I kind of felt like disappointed within myself and for my community because I wanted to use our platform to help the community, not
Yeah.
just, and again, it's not just Black people too. It's like it's literally our society. Like the conversation has to be had for our society to continue to move forward and for us to understand the situation fully. So that kind of didn't happen the right way. It turned out a little sour taste within the company. And like we even put up a post and we took it down and we did another post, and I was like, that's crazy. The whole sequence was wild. It made us look crazy, and it's not like we had millions of followers either. So it's just this like small thing that turned into something for no reason. So I was like, fuck it, we're gonna do something here in LA then. And Ride for Black Lives was born, And it's crazy because I was at Burgers 99 at Gio's, my boy Gio's restaurant on La Brea, and I was like, "Yo, man, like we should do something. Let's do a ride." He's like, "Cool, let's do it. We can start it here at the burger spot." And I was like, "Cool." And this was like on a Tuesday night or a Wednesday, one of those. And
What was the date?
the first date of the ride,
Yeah.
the first day of the ride was June 8th, which is
Okay.
a Monday. It was June 8th, Monday, June 8th, 8 a.m. And it's 25 miles. And and uh and so that Thursday before that or that Wednesday before that, I was like, yo, like this is what we're gonna call it. We're gonna do 25 miles. I know it's a lot, but we're gonna do it anyways. And we're gonna do it at 8 in the morning on Monday. And Gio was like, all right, cool, let's do it. And I put together a little flyer. I used my friend Mike Urquia's photo from one of the protests he went to, and we put it out, and we were like, yo, I mean, we were expecting like 10 people to be there, maybe 10 of our closest friends that might have a bike in the garage. And what's crazy is we pulled up Monday morning and there was 250 people at that first ride.
Yeah.
And the whole like Burgers is on La Brea, between First and Second Street, next to Undefeated and Union and all that stuff. And like literally that whole block was blocked off by bikes in the middle of the street. And it was crazy. It was crazy, man. And again, it was one of those moments where I was like, damn, this is tight, but now I'm scared because uh in some way, shape, or form, I'm responsible for 250 people that I don't know
Yeah.
on a bike, um, riding through the street, on a bike ride called Ride for Black Lives, where all kinds of shit is happening. And it was wild because like I'd never done a group ride before. I never organized a group ride before. That was the first time ever in my life. I usually ride by myself. Um, and But it was amazing. Like people felt amazing. The response was amazing. We met so many people. We created so many connections for other people too. And now flash forward, we did 45 rides this year, and we pretty much did 2 rides a week. So Monday morning turned into Monday evening downtown, and then we did Saturday morning every morning, from Burgers 99 on La Brea, and it's been an amazing experience. We've met so many amazing people. So many new people have connected with each other. So many people have been inspired to jump on bikes and jump into the world of cycling. We've raised we've raised money for food drives, and we sponsored bikes for some kids that needed a bike. We've highlighted some small businesses in the area, and again, like this was all super organic. It was just this. It was for sure fueled by this situation at my job, but it was also fueled by the idea that the world of cycling also needed a little bit of help in its diversity and its exposure to other people as well. And and also the idea of like, yo, we have at this point we got to show up for the community, and we can all sit back and talk about what needs to happen, or we can just go out there and do something and see what we can do, right? And that's kind of like our approach, where it's a super peaceful approach. It's a peaceful ride with a peaceful message of love and unity, with literally people riding on their bikes, getting out of their house, doing it in a safe way, because you can do it all safely. You gotta be, you see in some of these videos, you gotta have space in between each other anyway, just to ride safely. People come in their masks, they wear their helmets, but it gives people the opportunity of multiple things, right? So it gives people opportunities to participate in a peaceful protest, because a lot of people express to me like, yo, I wanted to, be out and voice my opinion, but like I just wasn't feeling comfortable being in the protest. And I was like, cool, I feel you, I get it. Like that's not for everybody. And I appreciate everyone that does go out and protest, because like that's a natural part of the situation. It's a must. It has to happen, right? But this gave some other people an opportunity to be able to ride through the streets, chanting, "Ride for Black Lives," and and uh, and be able to just participate in their community, but also be able to be active, right? And dust off that old bike and ride with some people that they haven't been able to ride with because a lot of the group rides stopped. The bike shops weren't doing group rides and all that. So it's been an amazing journey. Like, I mean, it's crazy to see some of the people that started coming on the first day, and now they're like fully kitted, fully clipped in, riding every day, riding centuries once a week, and it's wild to see. Some of these pictures are amazing. Shout out to Brian, who takes a lot of the photos. He pretty much comes to every ride and takes and captures everybody. But yeah, man, the bike ride has been amazing for myself included. Just to see how you can do something and impact your community, like right now, open my eyes again to like what you can do by just doing it. Right again, the whole idea of like equality and like racial justice, it's a super complex conversation, right? And I usually explain it to people like this, like it's a multi-dimensional situation, right? And in this I mean, like, we're doing a peaceful bike ride, so you can come and voice your opinion, or you don't have to say anything at all, but you're riding with this group and this bike group has a meaning, and the only reason why we're riding is because there needs to be change in our society, right? But also there needs to be the protests in the street, and there also needs to be people within their jobs, pushing their companies to do better and speak up and show up for the community, right? And then there's also people that are like, for instance, like there's the defund the police situation. Like there's people like in those situations that need the help. Like, so there's a multi-dimensional approach. It's kind of like marketing. And it's easier for me to understand because this is what I had to do every day. Where like at a company, if you're trying to push something, you don't just push a social post or you don't just push an email. You have to do everything. So you're emailing, you're retargeting, you're social, you're doing photo, you're doing video, you're doing commercials. Like you're doing everything. You got to touch all the touch points. So that's kind of like there was this lane for us to be a positive message during a mostly negative messaging time, where like the media turned all the protests into a negative situation. And like that's something that we pride our ride on, is like it's super positive. It's all love, it's all unity. Everyone's welcome, all bikes are welcome. We're not here to harm anything. We don't do anything wrong. We follow the rules. We keep the group together. We change everyone's tires. We feed everybody. We hydrate everybody. We bring business to small business. We raise money for food drives. Like this is the other way of pushing the idea that change has to happen, and within that change, we still got to help out everyone that's in need, right? So that's kind of like where we've been, man. It's been an amazing response. Like we were blessed to be able to be on TNT, just spread some of the word. We have some amazing riders. I think our youngest rider was 6 years old or 7 years old, and our oldest rider was like 79 years old. So again, like it's crazy to see the diversity within our ride, within age, race, financial background, the experience in riding a bike, the bike that you're riding. Like everyone's background is so diverse, and it's amazing to see like everyone come together and do and ride with us and believe in what we're pushing and do it with us, super respectful and super wholeheartedly. So it's been amazing, man. I can't wait for 2021 because we have a lot of things planned. We kind of took a little break just because like this past couple of months have been weird. The election was kind of, post election was interesting. No one really knew what was going on, and COVID things are spiking back up. So we also by participating in our community, want to make sure that we do by our community as best we can responsibly, right? So like, yeah, we all ride with our masks on, and you see some of these pictures, like everyone has their mask on and we have our space, but still like we also don't want to potentially put anyone at risk at all, because that would be detrimental to our community as well, right? So it's kind of this weird thing where we kind of have to tote this line of like, again, we're just trying to do good and we want to keep it that way and be positive. And again, that comes back to like me being an optimist working with Nike, where you understand like the message is key, the story is key, and the brand is tight, right? So like that's it, that's us. We're Ride for Black Lives. It's a peaceful ride with a peaceful message of love and unity. We're here to participate in the community, and do good and keep people healthy and keep people active, and expand the world of cycling, and expand the reach and visibility for our community and people and businesses within it, right? So that's kind of that's the ride, man. It's crazy. It's the ride. Um, and Yeah, I mean, shoot, Marcus. I mean, obviously, Marcus is crazy. Marcus is actually crazy. Shout out to Marcus. I'm sure if you've been to a ride, you have seen Marcus. If you've had a flat tire, he probably changed it for you. Marcus is literally. I'm not sure if he did it because he felt bad for people or he just really wanted to. But he's like, yo, one day he was like, I'm just gonna ride in the back of the ride, every ride, and if anyone falls behind and changes or pops a flat, I'm gonna change it for him. I'm keeping with the group. I'm like, yo, that's a lot. Hats off to you, because like again, like our organization and what we do is like super organic, and we don't ask people for much at all. And we pride ourselves on being self-sufficient, and it also shows us like our community, right? Like you have everything you need within your community, and if your community can be on the same page and like and rally around one organizing idea, right? And this organizing idea is just to like participate in the community, because so like you got people like Marcus who were like, cool, I'm changing everyone's tire every ride, and then you got some people like a lot of people do this, but like we ride through the streets, we run through lights sometimes just because there's 150, 200 people. It takes a long time to get through a block, and we got to hold streets and hold lights and hold stop signs just to make sure traffic stops, just so that we can get through safely. And people just volunteer and put their selves on the line, their bodies literally, to protect the group riding through the city, which is amazing to see, because like you never know what's going to happen. Like at any point, anyone could do anything. And for someone who, for no reason at all, but they believe in what we're doing and care about our community, will say, I'm going to stop in this intersection on La Cienega in Venice and park myself here and tell all these cars to stop while 150 people ride through the street. Like that's tight. And it's amazing to see. And everyone, our community is tight. People, volunteering, donating. It's been an amazing experience, man. It's been amazing, super impactful. And we're hoping that we can continue to do some more good for our community into the new year,
Yeah, awesome. So let's backtrack a little bit, because you're kind of like, oh, let's just go ride. But so obviously your buddy Gio, you guys have been homies for a while, I believe, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I've known Gio for a long time. He's a good guy, man.
The co-founder. And so when you guys are talking, did it automatically pop up like, oh, let's just do a ride, or were you guys thinking like, oh, what are our different ways we can kind of show our support and spread the message?
Yeah, so I think that the biggest thing that happened was when I moved back to LA, the streets were empty still. Like no one was driving around. And I was like, yo, it's the perfect time to get back on my bike. Like for a little while when I was younger, I went to Art Institute and I had an internship down in Arts District. And throughout that like year and a half, 2 years, I like rode my bike a lot. I had this old no-name steel single speed. It was like dark royal blue, and I rode it from North Hollywood to Arts District like 3 times a week, right?
Yeah.
And it was like my main mode of transportation at the point, and I enjoyed it. Like I got to stay active and I got to get around however I wanted to. And like things happened, things changed, so I was like, I stopped riding my bike. And when I got back to LA from Chicago, I was like, yo, this is an amazing time to ride your bike.
Yep.
And obviously everyone saw it, and like the whole world started riding bikes again. Like the bike industry is crazy for two reasons: because it was easy for you to ride your bike in the city again, and with that demand and COVID slowing things down, it's just like, whoa, what's going on in the bike industry, right? Like everyone's sold out. There's no parts, there's no tubes, there's no bikes, there's no tires, whatever. So COVID definitely spiked an amazing interest in bikes in general, for good reasons, right? And for me, it was just like, well, here's a good way for me to be active again, but also like once you get on your bike and you ride through the city, it's just like this freeing feeling, right? And so I was heavily riding my bike again when I got back to LA, and when all these situations were happening and like people kept getting killed by cops and things, it was kind of frustrating. Like everyone felt it differently, right? Whatever.
Yeah.
But I was getting like really frustrated, and it was like really it was really tough to see, right? And we're all in the house, and so for me, like mental health and strength is like a big thing, um, in our lives and in our success and how we deal with what we're doing, right? So for me, it was just like, all right, well, I need something to outlet. And biking again, getting back on my bike was like an active meditation where like you go ride 25, 30 miles and it's just you and the bike. And especially during COVID, like, and no one in the street. So it's amazing. But like, it's this space where like you can like push your body and your mind, because it's not easy to cycle long distances. You build up to it, right? Um, like a buddy of mine says, you never get it never gets easier, you just get faster, right? So like it's always hard, you're just faster and it's still hard, right? But it's this amazing mental and emotional outlet you can have for yourself, especially when you ride your bike with intent, right? So like I started riding my bike with intent every day, just to like release and think and breathe and expand. And for me, it was super helpful, because work was stressful, COVID is stressful, Black people being shot every day on TV is stressful, and it was something that really got me through those first few months of COVID, to be honest, for me just personally, and again, so the conversation fast forward, it's just like, yo, Gio, like I've been riding a lot. Gio's like, yo, I want to get back to riding more too. Like, I was like, cool, let's just do the bike ride for the community. So we have to ride the bike. Like, you have to do it now. And let's share this experience and this feeling with everybody. And like see where it can go. Cause like, again, like I said, everyone's out protesting in the street. Everyone's doing black squares on Instagram. And then there's people there's companies trying to do what they can within their means, even if they don't know what they're doing. And here's a clean lane for us to participate and like give everyone a different outlet and a different platform to participate in. And it's actually good for you. Like you can't, like, riding your bike is good, it exercises your respiratory system, like, which if you go back, the doctors say a stronger respiratory system helps you fight off COVID. So like, cool, mask up, keep your distance, and work on your health at the same time. Maybe you'll come out of the situation not even having to worry about COVID, right? So all of those weird things and all these weird variables that you could only have like right now, which is a crazy time to have everything happen at once, right? But all of that happened, and it made an amazing space for us to insert ourselves in an organizing idea that everyone can get behind in and like do something for others. Especially since we had time. Again, like our first ride was Monday morning at 8 a.m. Also knowing that no one was at work, no one was working. And so we had the time. So it's like, you might as well, like, let's go ride your bike. Let's get you out the house. Let's voice our opinions together. So that's kind of how that formulated, man. It's amazing. It's weird. This year has been fucked up, but also been an amazing space for you to like try something new, experiment, and like learn and grow together as well. Like as tough as this year is, um, as tough as this year is, as tough as this year is, we will all inevitably grow from it. Um, and it sucks that we have to go through some of this shit because like it really hurts. Like COVID is not fake. Like, and you know, some people argue it is, but my uncle died from COVID this year too in Seattle. So like, it's a tough situation where like everyone deals with things differently. Everyone has their own point of view, right? But until something touches your front porch, you don't really understand it. And so it just goes back to the idea of like some of the people at my company, they just don't understand it because it's never touched their front porch. Like they've never had to deal with how the cops deal with with someone of color. They just never had to deal with it. Just like some people haven't had anyone in their family die from COVID.
Yep.
Or some people haven't had COVID themselves, right? So like, and until you face or you're in that fire, you would know, and it's easy for you to say like, that's not real. So like, but also like, you know, again, I think it's just been a weird space for us to be in, and I'm super blessed and happy that this ride has brought some positivity and some immunity into our streets and our society. And you know, we're just hoping to continue the message and continue pushing forward with everybody, and doing it all super peaceful and respectful, coming forward into the new year.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, obviously from the beginning, I mean, you've always had big groups, but obviously the word is spread. How do you feel, or how do you think the word is spread? Was it just social media, or do you think it was like people just spreading the word, or people actually seeing you riding along the streets and like wanting to join you on the next one? Or
man, I think I'd have to say it's every way you've described it.
Yeah.
Because for instance, has been a lot of people that now join like Ride or Ride every time because we saw them on the street somewhere. Like,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of, you know, again, everyone was out cycling, and we do the same exact routes for the most part. We do the same exact routes. So it's like cool, like, oh, I saw this group last week. And then like the next week someone will pull up, be like, yo, like I saw you guys last week and you're here again. What is this? Like, this is amazing. I usually ride by myself, and can I ride with you guys? And we're like, of course, like everyone can ride. So that's been great. And like, again, when you see 100, 200 people riding through the streets, you're like, what is that? And people in cars, people walking on the street always ask like, what is this? What are you guys doing? Both positive and negative sometimes. It's like our last ride we did this year, someone sent me a Citizen. There's an app called Citizens.
Yep.
And someone called the police and like put it on the app like, 200 vigilante Black Lives Matter bike riders riding down Venice on a super spreader event, and no mask, and that is, and but like what, so you know, like it brings both positive and negative sometimes, obviously, and that's just the world. But social media obviously helps spread the word. Like that's another reason why I think that's tight too, because again, it's about our community. It's about our society. It's not really about us. So like we always stuck with like, we use super organic imagery, super organic content. Like all of our writers produce the content for us, right? So it's like, cause like we never really want to fabricate anything. Like we just want it to be seen what other people are seeing and how they feel about the ride, right? And like that does enough for us. Like, so like we just let organic social content spread like wildfire. Again, if you're averaging 100 people at least a ride, like that's 100 people sending a message out somewhere else And everyone has I mean, it's crazy also too when you think about it. Everyone has a mask and a helmet on, so like you don't know all of the people that are at the rides. Like there's some people from all walks of life, some pretty big and impactful and creative and
Mm-hmm.
resourceful and like long reach, super connected people at the ride as well. So, and again, we strive ourselves on like letting everybody be super private, not putting anyone on blast or like bringing any unwanted attention to people. But like those type of people there at the rides help too, because like obviously we ended up on NBA on TNT, which is amazing because like man, growing up as a sports like a basketball player, like everyone wants to be on ESPN or whatever, like right, and it's just like or TNT, and it's like man, imagine you did a bike ride and that bike ride ended up on a 10-minute segment on NBA and TNT during the bubble season, which is like so like that in itself is crazy just because like um it's just all of it. Like if you're doing something right and you're doing something wholeheartedly and it has a good message and it has good intent, like inevitably it will come to light and it will be supported by the masses and hopefully it does some good, right? So that I mean social's been huge. This was huge. Like obviously being on TNT is huge. Like no one was doing anything also. Like everyone was still at home and
Mm-hmm.
we were worried about if the NBA season was going to play. So like when the bubble was on, everyone watched basketball, and for us to be able to be on there was a blessing, and it was amazing. Super thankful for Salehi and Adam Lefko who put that together. Adam was the one of the hosts on there, and his buddy he's super close with, a guy that comes to our ride and has been coming from day one. His name is Salehi Benbury. He's super tight, successful, creative dude, and they've been friends for a long time. And I guess Adam had asked Leahy about like, "Yo, what's this ride? What have you been doing? Like, this is tight. I want to talk to them." And that's how that worked. And again, it goes back to like the community, right? And the community
Mm-hmm.
doing good for each other and doing good by each other, and just making an impact together. So it was amazing. Definitely an amazing experience for us to be on there. Super impactful. That helped. They, that was on TV, on their social, on their
Mm-hmm.
Twitter, on their Instagram. So it's been crazy, man. And but I think the biggest reason why we've grown and we've been able to be recognized in whatever level we have is because we're doing something good for people. And for me, that's what's most important. Regardless of social, regardless of follower count, regardless of whatever, like us doing good for the community is what has brought attention to us at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
And I'm glad about I'm glad about that, and I'm glad for that response, and I'm glad that that's how things have turned out because that's what counts at the end of the day.
Yeah. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, man.
So, you know, there were also, let's see, I think you kind of did touch about the positives and negatives, but I believe there was also a little incident with a fitness app
Oh
that happened.
shit.
Yeah.
Again, I forgot. There's so many things that have happened this
Yeah.
year. I forgot. Well, it's interesting. Yeah, there was a little run-in with an app, um, and it's not like a secret. So, our first ride, a buddy of mine named Andrew, he came and took some photos. And he's like, "Yo, like I love what you're about to do. Like I want to take some photos." Drove all the way up from Orange County to take some photos at the beginning of our ride, and then Strava was a fitness app who I use to record my rides. A lot of people do. Um, they like reached out to use his photos to like promote them like doing something on the app. And he reached out. He's like, "Yo, like you cool with them using the photos?" I was like, "Yeah, just like connect me with them so we can get the story and the messaging right." And he's like, "All right, cool." He did. Kept connecting me on the email, responding. And I didn't get anything. I didn't hear anything from them. They didn't even respond to me responding to them. And they posted something on their page like, "Yeah, we're supporting this and that." da 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 da. And they used our like all the photos from our ride to promote them putting black lines and black hearts on the routes if you like did hashtag Black Lives Matter or hashtag Breonna Taylor or hashtag George Floyd. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. Cause like, again, I'm in the same situation where I run social for a company who's arguably bigger than that company. And I wouldn't do that. Like I couldn't
Yeah.
find myself to do that, to like just completely ignore the the literal sentence that says, hey, you should talk to this person who created this, organization
Yeah.
in which I took photos at, right? So like it was kind of weird and like it was, but also super humbling experience because like that happened and someone pointed it out and then I kind of just posted it and I put a comment in there. And what's crazy is like all of my friends and all the Geo's friends and all the people that came to the bike ride and everyone that was excited about the ride, like just went in on them like a beehive, like if you go at Beyonce, the beehive comes at you crazy. Like that's literally what happened. Like there's probably like 200 comments on there like, yo, what is wrong with you guys? This is not you. This is Right for Black Lives. It's so disrespectful, da 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 da. And it was an interesting thing because like I'm not a super confrontational person. I don't want to be that, especially not on the social platform either. But unfortunately, within the climate of things, it's like, man, like again, I'm speaking to them as me in the same position in executing some content for social. And it's like you guys are just doing it all wrong. Luckily, it gave them and myself a chance to have a conversation and for them to, as a company globally, to think about the way that they approach things, right? Because like once they did that, I kind of did some research on like what they were doing before and like how they approached this situation in general. And just like, we have a task force that we do everything for. And, so like I hit everybody at the, like literally everybody with this long ass email. And I was able to get a response and I was able to get into a situation where we can have an open dialogue and me express how I felt, both from the person, well, from multiple point of views, from the person that, put the energy and effort into doing this for you guys to take it and make it look like you did it. Also, the person who is a Black man in America and to see like an all white company try to benefit from what we're doing and the shit that we're dealing with, right? And you did nothing at all for it.
Yeah.
And then also from the other person that sits literally in your seat at a different company in charge of the same exact function of the company. So it's like, all right, so which point of view do you want to hear? I'm gonna let you hear all three and you choose which one you want to respond to. But like, this is crazy. But again, like I said, I think this year was a learning experience for a lot of companies. A lot of companies aren't that diverse. This company isn't. My company wasn't either. And I think again, the silver lining in that situation was our 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 company, like our community, was able to impact a global company, right?
Yeah.
And we were able to share a learning experience with them, um, for the better of our society and for the better of the cycling community, right? And with that being said, like they put out an apology, a public apology, which is tight because like the other part of this, getting past these situations that we're in, it's just like people taking ownership of them fucking up, right? And like doing it in the right way. And it's crazy. It's just crazy to see like how impactful our community has become, right? Because again, if we never did a ride, then this wouldn't happen. So we wouldn't have been able to even have this dialogue or have them think about things a little bit differently, just because like you know, a lot of these companies are removed from the situation. They're not in
Mm-hmm.
the streets. They're not on the ground. They're not at any of these events. So how can you speak on anything if you've never experienced it? You're not there and you're not doing anything for it, right? So I think it was a good learning experience for all. It was kind of weird at the first, you know, at the beginning, obviously, but it was tight and it was kind of like kind of like you know some brands they like oh damn we got a cease and desist from like this company like you know that kind of moment of
Yeah.
like you've made it, you've been noticed because what you've done has made an impact.
Mm-hmm.
Although this kind of has some controversy behind it, when we don't need any more controversy at all, we made somewhat of an impact on a global
Mm-hmm.
company, which is tight, and I think that's um, super impactful and like
Mm-hmm.
along the lines of like what we set out to do inadvertently, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but it's cool, man. Like I'm looking forward to like doing some more. Um, looking forward to doing some more with them as a partner in the next year as we continue to learn all together and move forward. You
Yeah.
know, so it was definitely funny though. Like shit, people went in on them. It was
Yeah.
crazy.
I mean, look at the amount of views on this. Or not even views, but just likes. There's
Oh yeah,
36,000. So it's, I mean, this is
that's
their apology letter, right?
yeah,
It seems like it.
and you
Yeah.
know what's crazy? And hats off to Strava, man, because like again, they owned it, and
Yeah.
I appreciate that. And like this, even this apology, like they vetted the apology with me. Like
Oh,
they were like,
nice.
is this okay?
Yeah.
Or like, would you want to change? Like change whatever you want. Let us know what you think we need to say.
Uh-huh.
And again, like that happened. Like I had a fucking Zoom call with their global marketing team, and we talked about the
Yeah.
situation and like and you know I feel like they felt bad and they knew they fucked up and like again here we are like boom like you said 36,000 likes on this apology letter that they sent out for just our bike riding
Mm-hmm.
community, which
Yeah.
was at the time a week old.
Oh, wow.
With,
Yeah.
or so the apology went out a month after we started.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
started June 8th and they posted something like maybe the week after our first ride. And then there was a couple weeks of us going back and forth and talking about things. And then
Yeah.
boom, here we go. Like
Yeah.
that's actually crazy to look back and see. I kind of completely forgot about it, to be honest.
Yeah. No, it's super crazy, man. Like
Yeah, it's crazy
that's
because like even before that, everyone was like, "Well, what app do you use to record your rides?" And
yeah.
like what you know what would you like what do you use? What should I use? Should I use this one or that one? And they're like, hands down, I would say always say Strava. And then like
Uh,
it was weird too because like damn, it was like damn Strava, like we at least we put at least 100 people on your app just this week
mm-hmm.
from riding with us and like then you go ahead and like just take our stuff and like do it your whatever you're doing like it was crazy but you know we're past it now, we've
Yeah.
grown from it. I think it was good. I mean it was good for us, it was good for them, and hopefully we can impact some more companies to make
For
some
sure.
good positive change, you know.
Definitely. And
It's,
so are there? Yeah. So I guess moving forward, have you guys talked about doing stuff together in the future? And
we
it's
talked
pretty
about a couple
cordial.
things.
Yeah.
It's cordial now. We've talked about a couple things, and it's about time for me to light another fire under like
Yeah.
some people and some companies to like do what they said they would do last year. And
Mm-hmm.
like I feel like moving into the new year, you'll really see what companies like you'll see which companies meant what they said
Mm-hmm. For sure.
um, because I mean, it's now 2021. So like if you said something back in March or April of 2020, um, what are you doing in March or April of 2021
Yeah.
for what you said a year ago, right? Because if you're
Yeah.
not even touching it at all, then did you mean it? Or were you just saying something so that you were relevant and part of a topic so that you didn't look like you were like, you know, not down with the cause and now things are kind of a little chill, which they're not. Nothing has changed. We're still the same. People are still getting killed. Um, systemic racism is still alive.
Yeah.
Um, just because Joe Biden became the president elect doesn't like erase the past 500 years, right? So like there's still a lot of work to be done. It's not a 1 year situation. I mean, you think about it, like you think about how much change was made back in the 60s, and that was 60 years ago. That was, and there's still so much wrong
Yeah.
and so much, so much, so many things that need to be changed still. Like it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen in 1 year as well. So I hope everyone holds everyone accountable into this next year and to the next decade and the next 100 years, just to make sure that like things actually happen, because without people holding us accountable, you don't necessarily, you'll just keep on doing your own thing without any repercussions. So we'll
Definitely.
see how it goes, man.
Yeah.
There's a lot, and there's a lot of opportunity for them to be involved. So we'll see. I'm sure they'll be down. We'll have the conversation.
Yeah. So in
Yeah.
addition to talking about like you guys trying to like highlight certain restaurants and doing fundraisers and stuff like that. I believe you guys also talking about the election. You guys also did like a not a voter registration drive, but kind of did like a bike along where everyone was able to drop off their ballots, right?
Yeah, well, actually, we did do some voter registration.
Oh, okay.
So
Oh,
there's a
okay.
guy. There's a guy. Shout out to Jake. Jake is super tight. Jake came to a lot of our rides, and he just one day he was like, "Yo, do you mind if I bring voter registration forms? Just we
Yeah.
can start to get people." This was a few months before voting, obviously. I was
Yeah.
like, "Sure, man. Like, let's get people going. Like it's important." So like, Jake started bringing. We started registering a few people, but it was digital too. So telling people to register to vote. Because one thing as voting came up, like it was like one of the things I kept telling everyone was, um, if you just ride your bike and you don't register or go vote, then you might as well not have ridden your bike this whole summer.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
because the point of this ride is to participate in the community, right? And if you don't go participate in the community, then there's literally no point of you being here on the ride. Like, I'm sorry to say, I get it. I mean, I don't want to exclude anyone, but like to be completely honest, like this ride is born on the idea of participating in the community. So like please do so, right? So we did a couple rides with we did another ride, a voter registration ride with a company or entity called Our Own. Um, it's a it's a foundation founded by some women of color here in LA, and they organized one in Leimert Park, and we rode down there. A couple people registered to vote. They did a whole little thing just to encourage and like shed light on the idea of just registering to vote in general, right? For some people. And then ultimately we did some voter rides. So we did 2 rides to the ballot with Golden Saddle and Kyle. So my buddy Kyle from Golden Saddle, uh, they have a shop in like right on Sunset, like right around the Sunset Junction area, right by like Undefeated and every that. So Golden Saddle Cyclery, and with them and our community, we organized this ride where we're like, yo, we got to get people to go vote. And the idea behind it is that although we all understand the idea of responsibility and what we have to do, it's human nature. If everyone is doing it, then you're more likely to do it, right? So if we can make it so that it's a group thing and a group effort, hopefully or potentially we can get more people to get out to vote, right? So um, with the help of Kyle and Golden Saddle, we were able to get that happening. I reached out to AEG and the Staples Center and the LA County Registrar were super helpful with opening their doors for us and our riders. Because the other part is like, like we can't just pull up with 200 people on bike during COVID to come vote because like it's just a weird dynamic, right?
Yeah.
So we reached out to them in the beginning of it, and they were like, "Yo, like we love that idea." It was like, "Yo, we ride by the Staples Center every Monday night. We would love to come drop off our ballots there. Would that be okay?" Like they set up our own little section for people to come ride and drop off their ballots. And it's crazy too because that was the only ride I ever missed
Oh.
because Um,
That's right.
I this year in September, uh I tore my meniscus and my MPFL, and I had to have knee surgery. And it's crazy. I never had surgery on my body ever, and I've had a lot of injuries. And it was such a mental like exercise to deal with this injury
Yeah.
during like the peak and the height of the momentum of what we've been building over the summer. For me to have to like have surgery and not be able to ride my bike fucking sucked. And unfortunately it happened like I had to have surgery the week before the voting rides. And even worse, like I was supposed to have my surgery the Wednesday before the ride so that I could at least be back up on my feet and like be there in person for the Monday ride. And like Tuesday night, they were like, "Hey, sorry, but like we're gonna have to postpone your surgery." And I was like, "What?" Like literally the night before my morning surgery, they're like, "Yo, sorry, but someone got sick. And with COVID, we can't take the chance. And we have to push everyone out and like bring in new people, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, that's crazy. Just that in itself, like, is unsettling, right? Just because, people are getting sick that are supposed to be operating with you,
Yeah.
and like they're postponing your surgery. You've been mentally getting ready for this thing that's going to keep you out for 6 months. Um, so whatever, they postponed my surgery to that Friday. So that means like I had 4 days to kind of like feel a little better to be out there, and instead I had a day and a half, right? And so like unfortunately I missed that ride, and I was super bummed. Like I thought about trying to get up and get to the ride, and like the pain in my knee and it wasn't working, and I was super super disappointed to not be able to be there, unfortunately, because like at the end of the day, like that was probably the most impactful. I mean, it's hard to make anything better than other, but like it's right there on the top of the list with like the fundraiser that we did for like Summer Everything Food Drive, right? Where like,
Mm-hmm.
man, like we organized a safe and positive situation for people to get out and go vote together as a community. And I couldn't be there, which was it sucked. But our team held it down.
Yeah.
Kyle and Gio, and obviously Aaron and Marcus, and all those guys, like everyone on the team just kept it rolling, and it was super successful. And thank you to the Staples Center who helped us out. And then that Saturday we did one at SoFi Stadium. So we rode from the Burgers 99 all the way down to SoFi Stadium, which was tight. My buddy Derek is there works at SoFi, and he helped us organize that. And it was super successful. Again, like we had over 200 people at each ride, right?
Nice.
And um, and and it was tight too, because again, like it was a new route for everyone on that Saturday route. SoFi Stadium is new; it's a staple in the
Yeah.
city now, and like our community was able to like go and see the stadium too, just
Mm-hmm.
which it's closed. You can't even go there. And we were able to go do that together. They set up like bike racks for our riders and everything. They were super
Fun.
accommodating and made the situation super easy for us. So I was super excited for that. Like that was a big fulfilling moment for our community to be able to go and participate like we set out to back in June, when we said we're here to participate in our community. And like fast forward to voting and election time, like we were able to organize rides to get people to out and vote for the president and for everything on the ballot, actually, which is another thing where
Yeah.
like we kind of harped on. Everyone was like, the presidential election is one thing, but like there's 30 other things on
Yeah.
there too. So like let's also make sure we pay attention to those, because to be completely honest, all those other things impact our community harder than the
Mm-hmm.
president, right? Even though you want to vote for everything, but like you gotta also, again, in the vein of participating in the community, understand what's going on in your community. And those ballots determine a lot of things that happen
Yep.
within your state, like within the actual city you live in. They have nothing to do with anything else outside of your city, outside of LA County, right? And it's super important to understand those. So it was super impactful, it was super humbling for people to participate and like actually show up with their ballots and save their ballots
Mm-hmm.
too. Because like you could easily just went and dropped your ballot off or mailed it in. But a lot of people, a lot of our community saved their ballot for that day to come ride and drop it
Yeah.
off together. So that was super tight. So kudos and hats off to everyone in our community that did that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Um, and so I know too, you know, obviously moving into 2021 and, you know, all the stuff that's happened. I mean, we were talking about it, right? June,
Mm-hmm.
and it's December now, right?
Mm-hmm.
6 months. A lot has happened, right? All this
Yeah.
stuff, Strava, that Citizen app, you know, a bunch of other incidents,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And obviously, people and the NBA on TNT little
Mm-hmm.
segment on you guys,
Yep.
and I know now that there's people have reached out to you as far as expansion. What's
Mm-hmm.
what's that on your front?
Yeah, man, it's crazy. There has been so many people that reach out to us, and again, it's super humbling. Like again, like with the idea of social media, it makes it easier to connect with people all over the world, right? Like we've gotten people hitting us up from literally all over the world. Like people in Sweden, people in London, people in Australia, people in Copenhagen, Stockholm, uh, Toronto, like literally like Miami, Chicago, New York, Portland, Texas, like literally everywhere, and asking like, yo, first of all, saying like we love what you're doing out there. It's an amazing story. It's super inspiring. Thank you for doing your part. And how can we get something going here? We would love to do something with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
I could help you organize whatever. Like I could be your point person. Let me know, please. We would love to help. We want to be a part of it. We would love to bring you guys to our city. Like it's been amazing. Um, it's been crazy. It's been amazing to see the response on a global level. Like again, we thought 10 people would be at our first ride, and 250 people showed up, and now people around the world know about the ride and want to participate in the ride however they can, right? So it's been super humbling. We're working on obviously expanding the ride to different areas or regions. COVID doesn't make it easy at all, obviously.
Yeah.
And again, it goes back to we don't want to endanger, or we don't want to like, we want to participate and be positive in our community. We also want to be safe. So hopefully, with things moving into the next year and things being able to be a little more contained, we'll be able to. We have a goal of hitting a few different cities and states next year.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
So we'll see how it goes, man. God willing, we'll be in every single city and all the other countries as well.
Yeah, awesome. So we have a question from Hashibat. I believe that's probably a one of your guys. I think Brian
Mm-hmm.
Hashimoto, right? So his question is, what was the most positive surprise to come out of happen at a ride?
Oh man, there's so many. There's literally so many. The fact that so many people show up at a ride was a positive surprise, but also the idea. It's crazy too because like a lot of people will come express like how they feel personally about the ride,
Mm-hmm.
and for me it's all about everyone else and like how the community walks away from it. And some people, it's weird, it's wild because some people will say like, yo, like thank you so much because like this ride has given me like confidence to like ride my bike in the city. Like I was scared to ride my bike before, or like, or there's this one guy, this older guy, and he was on one of the earlier rides too, and he was saying like, my wife, we haven't been out the house at all, and my wife is susceptible to the virus. So we've been super cautious, but we found out about this ride. Well, she actually found out about this ride and she shared it with me, and she was like, you have to go to this ride. Like, we don't go out anywhere else, but she was like, you have to go to this ride. You got to participate for us. And for me to like, for someone to like, for again, because again, I knew I was dealing with that myself. Like my stepmom was dealing with cancer, and like, you know, she was super susceptible to the virus, right? And luckily she never contracted it. But like, for someone who knows that if like someone who knows that they're an easy target for COVID and that it could be detrimental to their health, to push their husband or their loved one, husband, wife, whatever, their loved one, someone that comes home to them every night, to go and participate with a group of people that they don't know for a cause, is super, super humbling, because like that to me speaks volumes to like how much someone cares about the idea, right? Because I didn't know them at all. Gio didn't know them, like they just came by themselves, didn't know anyone there, and they made a decision like, yo, you got to participate in this ride. It's crazy. I mean, but that's just one of the many stories. Just like having us being able to sponsor a bike for a kid, with the LA Bike Academy, like that's super tight. Like didn't know that I would be, didn't know that we would ever be able to like do that, right? Or raise money for a food drive, or get hundreds of people to go vote with us. Like every ride was an amazing surprise, right? Having a 6-year-old out there doing 13 miles with us through downtown LA, like that's an amazing surprise. Just to like turn around and you look, it's like, oh snap, like, which is also tight too, because like that's the other point where I've mentioned it to the group too, where we have some kids that come on a regular basis now with their family, like their mother or their father or whatever, because their parents know how important it is for them, right?
Yeah.
And like they get to experience how important it is, because at the end of the day, what we're doing is for them. Like everything we do now in our society will directly impact their future, right? Yep. And if we were to not do anything, then we would directly impact their future, maybe negatively though, right? Because if we were to just let things happen, and we don't agree with them, then we're letting it happen for our kids and their kids down the line, and they can't go vote, they can't go, they don't pay taxes, they don't go change, like, so we have to make that change and be that voice for us, but also for them moving forward. So like to see that that come from parents and for their kids to be like super excited to be there, which is again super surprising, super humbling experience to witness that what we've done has inspired others to like really get up and participate,
Yeah, well, that's awesome. So
who was that question from?
That was I think it was Hashibat. So I think that was Brian Hashimoto.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Shout out Brian.
Yeah. Yeah, and credit to Brian for all the pictures, if that is in fact you. These are great, amazing pictures.
Yeah, man. Brian gets some good flicks every ride. Literally every ride.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I'll put your social information here just for people to know how they can reach out to the group right here. You can kind of see, where is it? It says obviously those are your socials, but then we also have the Insta for Right for Black Lives, as well as their website. Yeah. So what do you? And you said you guys are starting in 2021. What do you guys have got going on?
Yeah, man. I can't really give all the details yet because it's some things, but we got some things brewing for 2021. We got. So here I'll just give you a little insight, a couple goals that we have, right? So a few goals we have for 2021. Obviously, with COVID-19 permitting, we want to hit 6 different cities or states in next year, right? We want to continue to, so we want to sponsor a bike a month. So our goal is to sponsor 12 bikes next year. That's one a month, and our
Nice.
goal is to do one fundraiser a month. So with that being said, we ride 2 times a week. We won't ride. We won't do our Monday night rides again until the time changes, so that it's a little brighter out when we ride again. But again, those are some of our goals. So we're gonna hit 2021 like pretty heavy. We have some amazing partners lined up to help us kick the year off. Like really amazing, big partners, which are super tight and super humbling again to like for people and both in our community and in businesses and brands who want to participate and help out however much they can. Moving into the new year. So again, we'll start back in 2021. I think our first situation will be January. Let me check the calendar. I'm sorry, one second.
No worries.
Our first actual thing, just so everyone knows, will be January 9th. That's the second Saturday of the year. So you guys can look forward to something on January 9th. It will be fun and exciting. And we're hoping to bring some good, positive energy into the new year and continue to participate in the community.
Awesome. Actually, we have one more question from Dreamhand. Any plans to come to NYC?
Well, Dreamhand, we do potentially, again, COVID permitting, some target cities that we have for this year is New York, we have Chicago, we have Minneapolis, we have the Bay Area, and those are just a few target cities for 2021. So again, like I said, COVID permitting, and the opportunity to make it make sense, we definitely are looking forward to being out in New York. So I hope to see you there too.
Yeah, awesome. Great. Well, so that's the end of our show. But thank you so much for coming. And it's so what I always like doing is kind of like tying this kind of narrative thread of how we got to where we are. And what I liked about your story was you talked about it. It's like if you asked yourself a year ago, maybe even like. Well, obviously, like
if you asked me in February if this would be happening, I would say no.
Yeah, exactly. So it's so crazy. It's crazy, right? All those series of events that kind of happened that led to you where you are now. But then also, like we mentioned your experience at Optimus. The family you grew up in and everything, and just the individual you've become definitely has led to this. And I think like everyone who's encountered you and already talked to you about it, like thank you for so much for what you're doing. It's amazing kind of what you guys have done, and it's and I love it. And especially when Marcus told me about it, I was like, dude, this is awesome. You know what I mean? And like you said, like trying to approach something from different angles, like you said, like marketing, like that's the way to go. And and what I love too, and I've kind of mentioned this too, and you've mentioned this a lot, is the community. And it always sounds like everyone's getting together, doing like their own rides, separately.
It's actually amazing, man. It's crazy to see it. I see it every day, especially now that I can't ride. I see so many people. I see so many people from our ride that didn't know each other before, and now are like riding every week, a couple times a week. Different backgrounds, different bikes, different levels of experience. It's been amazing how much the community has like connected people too. And again, like that's a beauty, and that's kind of what we need within our society now, is just creating meaningful connections between individuals, right? Because the more we can connect our community, the stronger we can be, right? And the more change and the more impact we can have when we are connected. And unfortunately, our society has grown in the past couple of decades less connected, more individualized, which is fine. It's cool for everyone to be an individual, but also like for our communities to strive, we got to be there with each other together and participate in it. So it's been amazing to see, man. It's just so much. We missed a lot, and we talked about a lot and we also missed a lot. So there's just so much in between.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll see how
Yeah.
it continues to grow.
But
There it
yes,
is.
thank you all for tuning in. Hit the follow button. And like I said, follow Ride for Black Lives at Instagram. Thank you guys. All
Peace.
right. Peace.